Thank you, Sandy Roberts, for that update on what's been happening. Car number 23 is the Diet Coke BMW. Joachim Winkelhock. A couple of V8s here to deal with over this part of the mountain. And he's been electric in his handling of the BMW.
Paul Morris now at the wheel of this car. And this team running 4 of the mighty little BMs, 1,000 kilos, 4-cylinder, 2.5 litre. Amazing little German manufacturer. They're running the indestructible 6-speed Hollinger gearbox, and they are a fantastic little machine. They'll take any amount of punishment, and this car running in 10th position at the present time. As I said, they've got a 4-car entry for this race. That is an unbelievable job to try and manage 4 cars in a race of this magnitude, but they are doing it. And Paul Morris at the wheel at the moment, another of the brilliant young drivers that Frank Gardner has picked up and tutored in this team. And these are going to be the top names of motorsport in Australia for a long time to come.
It's interesting watching the lap times too, Gary. The Diet Coke BMW previous best, 2:21. And meanwhile at the front, Jimmy Richards, depending on traffic, sort of hovering around the low 17, 18 mark. So that's the deficit that Tony Longhurst has spoken about for so long. That 3-lap deficit.
He's got a 2:16 up there last time around, so he's still maintaining that pace.
Jim Richards is absolutely flying when he gets a clean lap.
While we were checking the stats, Bradley Jones brought the HRT Commodore in the 16 car and gave it back to Wayne Gardner. That means 2 pit stops within 51 laps, and that's going to have a big impact on their chances in the race.
Yeah, I think they've gone for a different tyre compound too. They're chasing a bit of tyres today. Meanwhile, the work on the Peter Brock 05 mobile car continues. They've already taped up the gaping hole in the floor that frightened the life out of John Cleland when he came down the Conrod Straight. Prop shaft giving way, but they're going to drop quite a significant number of laps, the Brock crew, but I would think they will be out on the racetrack. Richard?
Yeah, that's the good news, Mike. They do think they can get the car back out, and they don't think that'll be a major problem. He said it was a frightening moment for John Cleland at the time. I think looking at his face, I think it was rather more frightening when he saw just how big the hole was and what might have happened. It was a universal joint that broke, but all that is in the process of being fixed, and all being well, we should be back out on the track fairly shortly.
How long have they been in the pits, Richard?
Too long.
Try the hourglass. There's nothing they can do. They've got to do this properly. Brock now 5 laps down on the leader. John Cleland stays in the car. Not much he can do about it. No point stepping out. He's going to have to step back in again shortly. In the meantime, Paul Morris continues in the 23 car. Up to 9th spot in the race. Been able to take the 55 Quick Stores Pepsi car of Troy Dunstan.
2:20.38 on the last lap, Paul Morris. So their times are just edging down. They'll get under the 2:20 mark shortly.
There he goes.
Johnny Cleland gets back in the race. 5 laps down on the leader, unfortunately. Let's hope the 05 car has no more problems to the flag. So the fans give him a rousing cheer. 05 rejoins position 23.
12 minutes. 12 minutes in the pits, and now 5 laps down. I think we'd have to agree an irretrievable deficit.
Yep.
Just making sure no other foreign objects are going to come through the floor as he works his way up Mountain Straight.
Really is quite frightening when you think of the inertia on something like that, a propeller shaft or a flywheel coming loose at that sort of speed. You can see it just rip through that sheet metal like it was a paper bag.
I wonder if there's another problem with that car. He doesn't seem to be trying very hard.
Well, perhaps when you put a new, maybe in the new prop shaft, there's maybe another imbalance problem with it, or there could be any number of things. We'd only be sort of theorising from here, but he is taking it very slowly on this lap out in the track.
He leaves the door open there for the Greg Hansford, Larry Perkins, Castrol Commodore to go through. The gap, incidentally, between our race leader, Jim Richards, and the Perkins car is out to 46 seconds.
Yeah.
So that's quite a wide gap.
And the previous lap, the best previous lap from Jimmy Richards is in the high 16s. The best previous lap for Hanson's in the high 19s. So he's struggling to keep up the pace of Richards at this stage.
Wayne Gardner now in position number 6. How's the day been so far, Wayne?
It's been tough. I certainly didn't expect it to be this hard a pace in the beginning, and our car's a little heavy in the tail, and it's burned our rear tyres up, so we've gone for a harder compound rear, and just trying to man now. Doesn't seem too bad. I'm just trying to settle down to a respectable pace now. It's a long day ahead yet still.
Wayne, Doug Mulway, how are you, mate?
Hey, Dougie, when are you going to buy my Harley? You keep on to me about it.
Harley's a boat anchor, son. I'm going to buy one of these new Triumphs. You leave me alone.
No problem.
Wayne, that's twice you've pitted now in 51 laps. This means you're in serious trouble unless you can get a little bit more life out of those tyres. They have any more hopes for these tougher compounds you've got on the rear now?
Well, that's why I'm... Oh, shit. That's why...
I'll take care of that sort of material if you don't mind.
Sorry.
There'll be a demarcation dispute.
I can be on the radio with you, but not a problem with that sort of swearing. No, they seem to be working pretty good. I'm just trying to settle in. I'm not sure where the limit is on them at the moment. It's a case of, slowly bedding yourself in, trying to understand the limit of the car again.
Oh, top of the mountain, Wayne. Big problem.
Okay, thanks.
It looks like the Radicic car's gone into the wall.
Oh, really? Yeah, the yard flag's out.
Yeah, it's okay.
It should be out of the way. Should be clear.
Thanks.
Should be young Cameron McConville at the wheel, I think.
Yeah, he's made a mess of that. The back of it's all stoved in. Looks like he's gone sideways and backed him out over the hill.
All right, Wayne, we'll come back to you later. Thanks for that, pal.
Not a problem.
Hey,
Thanks,
Brocky's
mate.
back in. I'm sorry, Clelland's back in. There is another problem with the Brock car.
He's trying to look around. It's obviously a prop shaft related problem. He's looking back, but this is the drama of the race.
He's got to get to the pits too because he's got a tyre rubbing up there.
What a shame. It was in position 3.
And this is where a bit of experience comes into. He's better off cooling this now and taking it very slowly. He doesn't need to pop that tyre.
It's going to disintegrate before he gets there.
Tell you what, you want to open those windows too. The inside of the car is just chock-a-block full of smoke. He's opened the window there and he's slowing down. I wonder if he can get it back to the pits. That tyre will be in shreds in very short order.
The modified Shell Racing, number 18. Let's take a look at what actually happened. We looked at the top of screen, and here he comes. He's got over the curb.
Yeah, unbalanced it.
He's going to kiss the wall here.
Look out.
That is not the best part. See how much pressure on the side of the car. I'm glad he hit on the tail section and didn't get the door.
Oh.
How close was that for the Thomas Mazzera going through? So that all caused, I mean, I don't know how many laps Cameron has done round here, but he's been running like a house on fire, has not done anything wrong, and just clipping one curb was enough to set the car off.
Tyres gone, running on the rim.
What a shame for the young guy.
What a shame for the Ford fans.
Absolutely. So he's managed to make it down to the pits.
Richard Hay is our man there. You've got a lively pit stop coming up, Rich.
I sure have, Mike, and I'll tell you, there's some very disappointed faces down here and an awful lot of damage to this car. It hit the wall very hard indeed. Paul Radicic has just put his helmet on, I think, to get into the car, but I think it'll be a while before it's going anywhere, looking at this sort of damage. The whole of the rear end has taken a huge whack against the wall. Apart from the damage that you can see to the wing, there's no telling what's happened underneath of there.
Yeah.
And of course, driving it all the way back down the mountain and down Conrod without a rear tyre on it won't have done it any good either.
Yeah, it could have done anything. I mean, could have moved the rear suspension across the car. The car might be driving in a crab-like manner.
But you can see where the concrete's been rubbing on the wheel. That took probably the brunt of the impact.
Yeah.
Could have been anything's happened there. The whole rear suspension could be well out of alignment by now. The car may be undrivable. 17.
Our Grand Marshal for today's race, John Cooper, was raising a couple of issues with a couple of the drivers. Dick Johnson was one the other day saying, have you guys ever considered running window nets in the cars, as they do in the
look at this. Sorry to interrupt, Mike, but we've got a BMW in trouble. Fallen Fitzgerald. Well,
just pulled off to the left of the road.
This is the last thing you would have expected. The fragility was supposed to be in the V8 cars, but now one of the BMWs is in trouble.
Yes, just back to that. And next time we get a replay of the incident with Cameron McConville at the top of the hill, asking whether or not they would ever consider running those window nets to keep the arms of the driver inside the car in case they hit a concrete wall or any other immovable object.
Yeah.
And it started a quite lively discussion that a lot of the drivers felt was very, very good idea.
just behind the action.
Have a look at this. Now watch.
Watch his head.
Here's the concrete wall, the start of it coming up, and watch Cameron McConville's arms and his head.
Crunch.
Oh.
The last thing you want to do is start getting your head or your arm or someone outside the window, and the nets keep them in. At the moment, though, the Ross Stone and the crew are working on the car down here.
Well, they've been in there for 2 minutes already. This is going to take a long, long time.
And just behind this drama in the shell pit, and totally overshadowed, of course, is the fact that the second of the B&H BMWs, car 20, Alaman Blanchard, is in the pit. So BMW, and it's been a long pit stop. Look like 2 of their cars have blown their chances.
Dear, oh dear. The amazing complexities of this race, how they can change within 5 or 10 seconds. The car running third is effectively out of the race, and 2 of the BMWs in trouble. Who would have believed that at the 57 lap mark?
They've had to get the big tools out. There it is, the jab.
Yeah, they've got the slide hammer going there, the faithful panel beater's tool, trying to get the guard away from the wheel. Meanwhile, Gary Wilmington's V8 Falcon is being pushed down pit lane. There it is, car 41 in trouble, the brand new Falcon.
Yeah, good try from Gary Wilmington. A privateer, no budget to speak of. He promised he'd always wind up with a car back here at Mount Panorama.
The old-fashioned way is the best way.
I've seen this at Bathurst before, even with an axe in the old days with Peter Williamson.
Yeah.
The American screwdriver, as they used to call it during the war.
I'm sure they can repair the panel damage, but the key thing here will be the rear suspension damage. Let's go down to Richard Hay.
Thank you, Mark. Well, what's going on at the moment, known in the trade in England as Birmingham screwdriver, which is hitting it with a hammer. But Cameron, what happened exactly?
Well, we're doing really well. You know, we were in third and Wayne was catching. I think he was running fourth at the time. And the tyres started getting a bit spongy, and I just went across the top watching Wayne. He was coming up the inside and I was watching him in the mirror and ran wide. It was just a big mistake.
Tremendous disappointment for you.
Yeah, it certainly is.
Thanks.
Yeah, I feel sorry for young Cameron. That's his, basically, I guess, his first race in the car.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Richards in car number 1, they starting to rise like cream in this field today.
Right, everything going right to schedule at this stage. Lap 58.
At 58, holding that brake still over the 11 car, Greg Hansford. And Larry Perkins stepping out of the car is Jim, and stepping in is Mark Scaife for his second stint today.
Brake pad change here too.
Front pads, you can see the caliper pliers there pushing the pistons back to get the new pads underway.
Well, they reckon they're only going to have 1 pad change. They've only done 58 laps. I can't see them getting away with just the 1.
Well, these guys have really been setting the pace over this second session. They certainly know the capabilities of the car and to some degree their wear rates. And here comes the leader. Car 11 will pass the Winfield car in the pits, and Greg Hansford will go back into the lead.
That pad change for the Winfield team is 10 laps earlier than they expected to do it.
Yeah. It's one thing, it's very interesting, and as the team's found at Sandown, you can test all you like, you get into race condition and things always seem to change. They've been in there for 55 seconds. Still fiddling around with the left-hand front wheel. They're coming up to a minute. Have we got a drama down there? Richard Hay.
Well, it's taking a little longer than expected, I think, on Freddie Gibson's part, but wheels are back on now. The car should be back out within the next 5 or 10 seconds.
Right.
But very hot work trying to change brake pads, as you can imagine, Mark, and I think it's just that that's taken the time.
Sure. Car 1 rejoins in second position. That stop took 1 minute 15 seconds. I can guarantee you that's a long way over what Freddie would have allowed for a pad
Perkins
change.
is just approaching Skyline, so that's the gap. He's opened a very significant gap through that very long pit stop.
Well, the 20 BMW of John Blanchard and Jeff Allen hasn't rejoined the race. It's still down there. Rev limiter problem. Shorted out the electrics, and they're now trying to turn it over, but it still won't fire. So they've been there for about 5 minutes.
It's interesting, the lap that Richards was on before he came into the pits, he did a 2:19.5. Well, Hanson's been matching that, 2:19s, low 2:19s, so the traffic building up, obviously slowing them down. When they get a clean lap, they're doing 16s, but boy, there's a lot of cars out there at the moment.
Race leader, Larry Perkins.